such consistently strong, experienced players, but everything can change now.
We're
into the first draft of this best of 5.
Straight on in. Misfits Academy on the blue side, of course, because Fnatic chose red. We are on 7.6. Galio is still disabled for the entirety of promotions, and we have a few bans coming out. Malzahar and Camille from Misfits Academy. Fnatic Academy have taken away the Rengar.
Of course, I wouldn't be surprised to see some Kha'Zix and maybe a Graves ban throughout this series. That is what Misfits Academy have prioritized for Pridestalker, and has looked very good while playing those champions, especially against Origin. Syncroft just could not hold up against Pridestalker, which is the second experienced jungle. It was Lulex first, now Syncroft has been taken down.
And you can see Misfits focusing up towards that top lane with the Camille ban. They know the kickers can play that. Cly, of course, could flex it into the support role. We saw Jez doing that for the Fnatic main squad. And then taking the Elise away as well from Amazing.
So as we round out the rest of the draft, Shen banned out, of course, Jizu, we saw some of his plays on that. Now taking out the Graves away from Fnatic Academy. You have to look at where they'll look towards for their jungle pick, but this Graves should be a strong pick first up for Pridestalker. Will it be the Lee Sin in response for Amazing? He's only played 4 junglers, and out of that, Lee Sin and Rek'Sai, the only 2 available.
Lee Sin seems like a pretty safe pick, but already Fnatic going towards the Varus and the LeBlanc here. So solidifying that mid lane, very early LeBlanc pick for Niski.
And this is a departure for Fnatic when you look at their AD carry role here. Mr. Rales consistently getting his hands on Ezreal in the previous series, but with Varus up and available, not many teams are letting that go through. When you have it on first rotation, it's very strong, but we are quickly getting crazy in this draft. There's a Katarina, you have an engaged tool and a burst tool alongside it. This Misfits Academy lineup so far is looking for individual picks, and now they're trying to force Fnatic Academy into at least a decent jungle matchup alongside that. The Katarina LeBlanc matchup is a bit of a back and forth one. We'll get into that as we go into the game.
Yeah, you have to think Fnatic pick up probably the Lee Sin here for Amazing, as you said, with the jungle pick. And now we're going to get to that second rotation of bans. So AD carries locked in, junglers and mid laners. Where do these teams now focus that ban priority?
Well, right now you can either leave up like a Karma or something like that for Fnatic, and they'll end up picking that in this first rotation of Phase 2. Or Misfits Academy will ban away all of the blind pickable supports and force Fnatic Academy maybe to pick up a blind pickable top laner. There aren't too many left, and Nautilus is the type of champion that you could play. But Kikis has played the most unique champions in the top lane out of any Challenger Series player so far. There's an Akali in there, there's Echo, there's Kled.
Got one match in the Challenger Series as well.
You name it, he played it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Fnatic Academy last pick their top lane. Could also just be the Nautilus here. Banning out the supports may be an indicator that they want that blind pickable top lane and don't want to give away too much for Misfits Academy.
Yeah. So Zyra and Karma taken away by Fnatic. Misfits focusing that top lane, focusing the carries down. Fizz and Kled off the cards.
Tahm Kench is available right now if Fnatic Academy want to take that as a bot lane pick. Is decent into Ashe, always has been. And the same with the Katarina on the opposite side. Another pick that you can mitigate a lot. If you can take away that first kill, well, you've also got a protection melee support.
Yeah, Braum gives you a little bit of protection, and because you've taken away a lot of the range supports, it's not the end of the world in that matchup. Dreams could always go for something like the Thresh here, or even his own Tahm Kench, 2 champion he's very strong on. So I'm actually slightly surprised by that Braum instead of the Tahm Kench that you were talking about. Now we're going to see the Nautilus locked in for Jisoo in the top lane, and Dreams' support will be the final lock-in here.
And this is why Misfits Academy banned the Fizz and the Kled. They were pretty much expecting Fnatic Academy to take their support here, and Nautilus would be available. One of the matchups that still is up is the Rumble, if they want to take it. Not exactly a champion that we've seen that much out of Kikis recently, but again, he's played so many different things. But Akali is a champion that he has played into Nautilus, but he's playing it into an Akali player.
That he is. Now, Jisoo very well known for his Akali, as is Kozku. We thought Akali would be a priority pick between these teams, and actually, we saw Kikis play the Akali into the Nautilus matchup.
Yeah, there we go.
And he did incredibly well in those playoff matches, so it's going to be Akali top. A real lack of tankiness here, apart from that Braum pick for Fnatic Academy.
But Fnatic Academy, if they start the snowball going, Misfits Academy theoretically will struggle to hold on. However, Misfits Academy have a good kind of turnaround on team fights. If one person drops from an Ash Arrow that is out of position, Misfits Academy will jump on Fnatic very quickly, and this Katarina will quickly take down the squishy targets that you highlighted for us. So there's a lot of nuanced play as we get towards the skirmishes, but this is a very explosive Fnatic Academy lineup. This is indicative of them wanting a lead early and never letting it go.
Last time we saw Kikis get this Akali in the top lane, he was dominant. Didn't have the best stat lines at the end of the game, but was just unstoppable in that split push role. This whole draft feels a lot more coordinated from both these two teams. When they last met in week 4, it was very much more about team fights, very much more about whoever gets those big end game objectives wins the game. This is much more early game focused.
Yeah, it is absolutely, especially at a Fnatic Academy. Misfits, maybe, aside from the Katarina, have a slightly more conventional setup. When you look at it, you've got a tank top lane, you've got a decent jungle matchup, and an engaged tool and defensive play on the bottom lane. So theoretically, like, their composition is maybe better rounded than Fnatic's, but Fnatic's is the kind of composition that we love to watch. It's going to be Kikis on this Akali. You mentioned his stat lines didn't look amazing. Well, the one thing that did look great was his CS at the end of the game. He was crushing that top lane matchup.
We are about to get on to the Summoner's Rift. Game 1 of this best of 5 between Fnatic Academy and Misfits Academy. The winner goes through to the LCS. The loser has to fight again tomorrow. It's going to be a great series, Stress.
I hope so. I hope it will be. We're in game 1. We've got a Katarina and a Kali. I think that says everything we needed to as we load up onto the Rift. EU Challenger in the promotion tournament has kind of become the new home of Akali, I feel like. We've seen it in mid lane, we've seen it in top lane multiple times now.
Out of the 6 times Akali's been played, 3 of them have been in EU Challenger, and those have been the 3 wins as well for Akali across this split. So
let's go Europe. That's what we wanted.
Well, it's also an omen of hope for Fnatic Academy as well, with Akali having a 100% win record in the European region. Perhaps Kikis can continue that record or break the streak, as Misfits look to see if they can set up anything early. Just seeing perhaps if Fnatic were going to invade. Niski, of course, can place that ward across the bush, and it's going to be pretty even between these two teams to start us off. Yeah,
we aren't quite going to see the shenanigans we were seeing in some of the playoff games where we were getting kills every single level 1.
Oh, I loved it. Although the team that got the first blood in that scenario, if you got first blood under a minute, you lost the game on average across the last week of promotions.
That's my kind of stat, one that doesn't make sense at all.
It was also, if you got first tower, you lost the game, which is, again, not indicative of how we usually see LCS playing, but you said it in pick and ban. This is very much more Challenger series, and we can see Fnatic are in favor here. Of course, both of the sister teams played very well this last weekend. Perhaps we see some of that revitalization from Fnatic spreading over into their academy compadres.
May very well be. I mean, you can't really underestimate how much growth Fnatic Academy and Fnatic's main LCS lineup have shown over the last few weeks and, you know, just about a month. Both have gone from strength to strength. Fnatic Academy, obviously, since bringing Amazing back into the lineup down from the LCS team, really turned this team around. And it was against Misfits Academy that he actually had his first showing in Challenger Series. That was a 1-1 split matchup. So it's interesting that we're at this point where both teams are on the cusp of joining the LCS, and the sister teams are on the cusp of maybe going to the finals.
And I think it shows as well the benefit of having an Academy squad, because you're able to scrim up against your main squad. You both improve from each other. I know Fnatic Academy have been scrimming against Fnatic this week, and it just allows you that little bit more inventiveness. You know your scrims are going to be try-hard because you want those Academy players to be striving for the LCS spot.
And now that hasn't always happened when we've had these Academy teams and, you know, lineups like with a quote-unquote B team. A lot of the time they were actually very separate, but we know they have started to scrim more recently against each other as they've been more successful. So it is interesting to see whether the playstyles will be adapting. But the early game action that we haven't quite caught up on is just a couple of wards going down. You can see one was placed deep on the Grump on blue side. Amazing has been tracked off that ward in front of the Infernal Drake, but I believe the Hawk shot didn't quite spot him out earlier when he was on the Grump. So Misfits Academy surely know that Amazing is heading bot. They're about to ward Tribush. to spot him out, but he's actually already jumped using that blast cone. We saw him head over towards the Krogs.
This is something he did so well last week as well, changing his jungle pathing slightly to avoid these tri-bush wards. We see him do it up towards top lane, and here, perhaps he'll be able to get a gank off bot. It is a dangerous gank to make into an Ashe and a Tahm Kench.
And look at this defensive ward already by Kikis on the top side as Dreams has found amazing bot. Kikis knows that Pridestalker is already here, and that is a ward that we don't always see put down, so he knows right now there is the impending gank. If Jisoo maybe hits the hook or lands at least that auto to set it up, but look at how low Pridestalker is. He's still going to deal with all of these Krogs. Kikis should be able to just clear out this wave in front of him, albeit slowly. He should be safe here. Amazing is hovering around the top side as well, but you know, Misfits has done a good job of spotting Amazing out already this game.
We see as well, Jisoo's just pushing Kikis back in towards his turret. With the Riptide, Nautilus is always going to push early on, but there becomes a turning point where this Akali will start to get online and start to be able just to harass down that Nautilus.
Unfortunately for Kikis, it is not the moment that he goes aggressive towards a Nautilus that has a cannon minion in the wave behind it. So Kikis comes up a little worse off from that trade. We haven't seen much action in the mid lane yet, but around there, we're about to have Pridestalker checking into Clyde.
Exhausted straight away, the Sonic Wave doesn't connect. Clyde will get the stun off, but here's Coscu, there's first blood! And Coscu on this Katarina starts to pop off.
5-minute kill for Coscu. Had to use Flash, used Ignite, but still, it's entirely worth it now. As long as Coscu can avoid any follow-up from Amazing, Coscu will have the dagger to Shunpo too. You can get yourself out. So now it's on Coscu. Just play safe, and he's already got himself a good enough lead. Pridestalker baiting in Nisq maybe here alongside Coscu, but it's enough.
Niski's just trying to farm up a little bit in that lane as well. Ranged into melee matchup can be okay. Let's have another look at this first blood, because this is Clyde going aggressive.
And this is actually Coscu coming down very quickly. Faster than Nisq could actually get into the fight himself. The fact that they can get that kill cleanly, and Misfits Academy 1-0 on this. Again, it's because they kind of had an inkling of where Clyde and Amazing were. Misfits were prepared to move, and that is something that Fnatic Academy were not expecting.
Not at all, and Coscu, the last time he played this Katarina was against Schalke in playoffs. He was dominant on it, 11-3-7 in that game. Here, he picked it up very early in the draft phase on that first rotation, and obviously feels relatively comfortable in this matchup into the LeBlanc, because he picked it into the LeBlanc. And
not only that, you can see that because there is an iota or two of AD in there, Coscu going Hex Drinker first, wants some of that extra survivability, bouncing around a fight. Obviously, a lot of Katarinas in days gone by just go full AP and just rush it all. Coscu maybe going to show us something a little bit different here. He's always one for slightly tweaked builds, so I'm excited to see what he's going for here.
We do see a lot of mid laners getting early no magic mantles or Negatron cloaks as well, so perhaps that's just an adaptation here. You never really build towards the Abyssal on the Katarina, so just getting that Hex Drinker with the scaling that we were talking about can do quite a bit of work. But now we're 7 minutes in, and there's already 1,000 gold lead here for Misfits Academy. That doesn't all come from that first blood. If you look in the jungle, Pridestalker's heavily out farming Amazing, and also in the bot lane, there's a 10 CS lead for Yuki.
Yeah, the bot lane is kind of a product of the fact that Clyde got killed, because Mr. Morales had to concede a lot of space in the lane. He's played a lot of Ezreal, and that's the kind of AD carry that maybe wouldn't quite have been punished by the support roam quite so much, but of course Varus being a less mobile AD carry does play at the mercy of Clyde leaving the lane, and that's a very interesting prospect that we're going to have to track throughout this series.
It's something Clyde does a lot of the time as well. He likes to be with Amazing early on, has the highest proximity with his jungler in the early game of any support from the Challenger series. And actually Amazing's going to get onto Coscu. Nisq jumps in, exhausts down. Coscu no flash, Nisq with the kill.
And there's the repeat gank from Amazing. This time it looked like it was a little different pathing here. There was a ward down to spot Amazing out. I don't know whether it was just too late, but Coscu couldn't escape, tried his best to get out of there, and Fnatic Academy with the return kill as revenge onto Coscu.
And we can actually see Kikis struggling a little bit still in this matchup in the top lane. Triple Dorans for Jisoo means that it's quite hard for that Akali. Now Fnatic have got that kill, and they'll go and steal away this blue buff as well for Nisq.
I think when you look at it, like Kikis picking this Akali, which we'll get to in a second. There was no actual ward here. Coscu was heading toward. This is what we didn't quite catch right at the start. So Kozq didn't get the ward down in time, ends up getting picked off. But Kikis, remember, in this top lane is now playing this Akali into a player that is an Akali main. I wonder whether the fact that he took 1 or 2 rough trades in the lane into the minion wave has made it difficult for him. But he is even on CS. It's not like it's a completely lost lane here. There's Fnatic Academy head mid again.
Early Inferno. Kozq's going to put down the Death Lotus, but it's a death knell for him. Amazing will get the kill.
Kozq, after such a good start, has been playing forward in the lane against Fnatic Academy. You can see his wave was basically pushed up past the halfway mark. Kozq didn't dodge out the chains, couldn't. I mean, we didn't quite see the beginning of it, but Nisqy, very comfortable now, has a kill. Amazing has a kill as well. So Fnatic Academy are starting to bounce back. But as you said, Infernal Drake has gone over to Misfits Academy. That will help them when they can get into a couple of fights later on.
So you can see here how much Amazing's been doing in the early game, and this is indicative of what he usually does. High jungle proximity compared to Pridestalker. He gets early ganks off, and he pays for it slightly in terms of experience, usually about half a level down when we get to that 15-minute mark. But getting his lanes ahead is exactly what Amazing wants to do. And
this is one of the ways that he has worked very well to do that. So Nisqy comes in. Kozq, how do these chains hit? They just move past the minions. Kozq didn't have anything to escape it. It's a clinical kill as soon as Nisqy moves forward in the lane. And Amazing obviously there for the assist as well. Amazing and Pridestalker this time around only just separate on experience. Maybe 1 camp's difference for now. So some of that experience that Amazing has had from the kill, the assist, is kind of compensating for a little bit of that drop-off that we normally would see between Pridestalker and Amazing.
Exactly, and it's a different jungle style from 2 junglers as well, whether you want to gank or whether you want to go for that CS. Now, Pridestalker's waiting in the bush. Kicker's going to get knocked up, tries to go into the Twilight Shroud, seeing if he can dodge around. Still has Flash here, and of course that ultimate, concussive blows will land, but still gets away. Kikis, he does use the Flash in the top lane.
Yeah, Flash out past the dredge line, though. If that dredge line had hit, maybe Pridestalker had enough damage. He had the collateral damage still available. They're going to push this tower, though. Despite getting no kill, they got the Flash. Now they get tower first blood as well. Misfits Academy showing us a strong early game, just like last week.
And you can see the difference between the 2 junglers. Pridestalker's up top. We're going to have Abyssal Voyage here just to save Kozq underneath the turret. Amazing was mid once again when Pridestalker was up there, so we can see that Graves wants to try and keep Kikis down, whereas Amazing is trying to get Nisqy ahead.
And look at the response from Amazing, trying to head bot side, but Dreams is cutting him off already. Nisqy, this time there is a flash for Kozq, so they do have to be a little careful on that, but not enough damage to actually kill him. Kozq holds on to it. Kozq has, as you said, turned back in the lane now. These 2 kills have cost him. And the 1 kill that they had at the beginning of the game isn't quite enough to snowball this lead into an unstoppable Katarina. They need a couple more kills before we get to that.
The question is, can Nisqy become an unstoppable LeBlanc, and can we have Kikis just farming in a side wave, slowly getting that Akali stronger and stronger?
I feel like Nisqy has an easier time of getting a greater lead, because Katarina, you have to get that first kill in the team fight. Otherwise, you're almost useless, right? You get a lot of damage down, but if you don't actually get the reset off, even with the rework on Katarina that has slower damage, that isn't quite so all-in burst, you still require the cooldown reset. Yeah. And without it, you struggle. Whereas Nisqy, he can be very active, blow somebody up. Is quicker than a flash. Yuki will be off the map. If Dreams doesn't react with enough respect, then Fnatic Academy have the numbers advantage.
Well, the game slowed down a little bit here, Stress. Let's have a quick review of where we are. Slight lead for Misfits Academy in terms of gold. They also got that first turret, but Fnatic are fighting back. They've started to pick up some of their item spikes. It looks like Nisqy's going towards that Hextech Gunblade. Same for Kikis in the top lane, and there's a Blade of the Ruined King completed on Mr. Rales.
I think the key right now on 7.6 is if it says Blade, buy it. Is there anything with Blade in that...
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Maybe just don't buy the 3rd Blade film. That was awful. Yeah. Fnatic Academy right now. Oh, Amazing has to try and get out.
The arrow was coming in as well. Yeah, the dredge line does hit, but the problem is, yeah, with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow not connecting, with Amazing being able to jump across the wall using the flash, it's a very difficult engage for Misfits Academy.
It is, but Misfits Academy looking for some of these setups to try and catch anybody out. Although Kozq has been spotted on this ward.
Can Amazing just go for the 1v1? Clyde jumps across the wall with the stab beside me, and Mr. Wallace is waiting in the wings. Another kill for Amazing.
Importantly, Amazing goes over the wall, first gets the kick to land the Q for the damage, doesn't just throw it out blind, knows there's a flash available, and respects the fact that CosQ would avoid it if he had any kind of warning. That was nice out of Amazing. Jumps over, gets the kill, equalizes the towers.
And so many times we talk about what teams take off kills. Now, the last time these two teams met, it was a bloodbath. Some of the heaviest kills and deaths games we had in the Challenger series, but they weren't taking objectives. We see how much they've changed in the 2 months since that series. Here, Fnatic get 1 kill, they take a tower, they set up vision around the dragon, and they start to control that bottom side of the map.
Especially with the dragon up in 40 seconds, it's Infernal Drake. You don't want Misfits Academy to get that as a second one. Obviously, Fnatic Academy, if they can control the bottom half of the map, it does leave Kikis a little on his own on the top side. Without a tower, it means Kikis does have to play with a bit more respect, but if everything is happening bot side, that's where Pride Stalker is going to have to focus as well, right? And with only 1 teleport for each team, it's not like you can suddenly 3v1 somebody on a side lane particularly easily.
And we're starting to see Kikis actually gain some of that CS advantage that he was so well known for on this Akali. 20 CS up above Jisoo. Jisoo's now going to push out the wave and equalize that a little bit, but it gives time for Fnatic to roam and look for the kill onto Dreams. Akali's here as well.
And a lot of the reasoning for that is the fact that Jisoo, his role is kind of just to push back Kikis when he can, and then to facilitate fights. There is a ward in the Dragon Pit, but they don't want to go right in here. This Dragon is dying pretty quickly. Pride Stalker's in.
Looks for the steal, can't get it from Amazing. Now Dreams is caught out, he tries to get away, but he is taken down. Jisoo knocked up, Fnatic getting kills. Here's CosQ, he's in the midst of 5 members of Fnatic. It's a double for Amazing.
And even without the exhaust available for Fnatic, you can see CosQ going in 1 versus 5, puts his stat line now to 1 and 4. From what was a very good start for Misfits, a good regroup for the first blood. Fnatic Academy have punished CosQ everywhere he's tried to move, and Fnatic Academy are coming out so far ahead because of it.
And this is what we've seen from Fnatic over the last few weeks. Great objective play, great team fighting. At times, it looked like perhaps they could be caught out if you challenge their 1-3-1 too well, but it's just not working.
Yeah, it truly hasn't worked out quite so well. You can see how far CosQ was forced to come around this fight, so he's ready to go into this fight. He's a Katarina. This is a type of fight that if he's there at the beginning, he is desperate for. There was an exhaust that came out. It was the one came from Niski in this fight. Clyde, they have 2 exhausts, so every single time Cat comes into the fight, it should be easy to lock him down. CosQ saw the kills in his eyes, didn't really have it in front of him, and ends up getting taken down quick enough.
Mr. Wallace,
Yuki
just taken out by Niski there. Whew. That was so quick.
Was that just like the clone caught him? I believe it was like right where the scoreboard was.
Yeah, we must have just missed it. But such great play by Fnatic to make those picks, and we talked about it, Stress. Snowball for Niski is starting to roll.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is, I don't know whether it's jitters for Misfits Academy. This is obviously the 3rd series they have played on the stage, but this is the first time a lot of these players are playing for an LCS spot. Yeah. CosQ's been on stage so many times, but I believe this is one of the first times he's ever been 1 game away from getting into the LCS. So you can see that some of their movements on the map, pushing up too far, giving away kills when it's just not the right thing to do. I mean, Yuki ends up getting taken down. Oh, wow. Okay, it was actually the bounce.
Whew, that's unexpected as well. You don't expect the LeBlanc to be able to burst you like that.
I don't think Yuki was expecting to lose like 40% of his health to the bounce there from LeBlanc.
And we can start to see Fnatic taking this game by the scruff of its neck. 3,000 gold lead now, just continually extending, and it's actually extended to 4,000 while I've been talking. Bit by bit by bit, Fnatic are stopping Misfits in their tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the difficulties that we discussed about facing this Fnatic Academy team is like, you can't understate how important the experience of being an LCS, a Worlds, you know, finals player has, because you get to this point and you kind of just end up going into you know, not the zone, like, quote unquote. A lot of players will talk about that. Amazing did, however, speak about how when he was playing on the opposite side, when it was relegation time, it was one of the most nervous games for him. So even that experience helps the Fnatic lineup at this point. And Misfits Academy, I think they will settle throughout this series. That was nice by Niski.
Yeah, Jisoo's going to try and jump around, knocks Niski up, but 4 members of Fnatic are here, and Jisoo will get devoured. Dream's trying to get his Nautilus to safety. Does manage to escape in the end, but just coming back to that experience point stress, when you compare just the amount of competitive games these two teams have placed, there is such a vast chasm between the two. Like, Fnatic Academy have had 828 competitive games that I could find. Misfits Academy, 297. The best way to express how big this gap is Amazing himself has had 279. Only 18 games less than the entire Misfits Academy roster at a competitive level. And it just pays dividends for you when you come to the crunch and you get into these big series.
Yeah, settles itself in, and we've settled ourselves in. 20 minutes nearly about in game 1, and Fnatic Academy have a significant lead right now. We have seen Misfits Academy play from behind in previous weeks, though. So I think there's always one thing to look out for, is especially with this type of composition. Ash Arrow, Nautilus engage into a Katarina cleanup. Maybe not a
jumps in with a Death Lotus, but there's an Ignite and Pride Stalker's there. Kosku, can he get away? Yes, he can. This is what you're talking about, Stress, the ability to pick off one member. Yeah, that's the punish, and if that type of thing happens right at the beginning of a team fight setup, Kosku can combo. Depends on that exhaust timing, but Misfits Academy aren't out of this game yet. They have enough engaged tools, they have enough defensive tools at the same time that they should be able to slow down Fnatic Academy and punish them if they ever try a risky Baron. That's one of the areas where Ashe, Katarina can really succeed. We've seen how much Misfits like those risky Barons. Let's have a look at this play once again. Pride Stalker sneaks into the bush.
Yeah, so Niski at this point forced to flash away and then kind of sticks around. Doesn't respect an under tower exhaust, but wasn't expecting Pride Stalker. He was already low enough that that collateral damage from basically max range was enough to pick him off. Fnatic Academy, a 3-man stack now, looking for vision control on the bottom side. 30 seconds on the next Drake. It's Ocean, so maybe not quite as high in priority as the Infernals we've had so far in this game, but Fnatic Academy will want it because it's one of the only objectives they can pick up that's easy to continue snowballing their lead.
We saw them get the Rift held on towards Kikis earlier on. Also, both these teams play a lot around that Elder Drake later on in the game, especially the last time they met, so having an extra dragon under your belt is always beneficial. Misfits Academy are trying to step forward into this red side jungle, see perhaps if they can get some vision down, but at the moment, Fnatic seem to have control.
It's happening again for Kikis. He's putting the CST show on again. This Akali, he just pushes, and there's no real way for Jisoo to deal with him until he's under tower, at which point Kikis steps back. And then Jisoo has to respect them. That's when Fnatic Academy have been pretty good at actually forcing teleport plays. So it means the next time Kikis can just get to the fight, and Misfits Academy are a man down.
However, the game once again has slowed down a little bit after that 10 to 15 minute flurry. We see the gold equalize as well, only 2,000 the difference, and now Misfits Academy are starting to get some items under their belt. You've got Spirit Visage up on Jisoo, you've got a Black Cleaver completed for Pride Stalker, the Hextech Gunblade for Kosku, the Blade of the Ruin King for Yuki as well.
And with Rales in the top lane, Fnatic can't step too far forward because an Abyssal Voyage behind them would mean near certain death for some of their members. Now they regroup towards the Baron.
Ooh, whoa,
they
okay.
faked that they were going Rift Scuttler, and now they're trying to fake a play here with LeBlanc sitting mid. Misfits Academy, it's taking them long enough, but this is not a fast Baron. Yes, they have Blade of the Ruin King here with the Hurricane, but Misfits Academy knows something is up. You can see now Tahm Kench is looking towards it. This still is at about 3,000 health on it, now down below 1,000.
Stalker's stolen one before. He looks for another Devour onto Dreams. He's going to get the Baron for Fnatic Academy, and they'll take Dreams down as well. Amazing's dead. Great play by Fnatic.
Yeah, Fnatic are able to regroup on that, and Misfits Academy just didn't spot the play fast enough. It was a slow Baron out of Fnatic Academy, and this is what we were talking about, like, Misfits Academy can react to a situation like that with full force, and it should go well. But Fnatic Academy take the Baron with almost no contest, a couple of kills alongside it, and that might just be the death knell for game 1 for Misfits Academy.
Yeah, now Fnatic just grouping up as a 5-man stack in this top lane. They'll take the first turret of the push and perhaps look for more. They can go mid, they can go bot, there's still towers there for them to claim.
And I feel like that was the exact type of play that Crepo was talking about on the lead up to this. Like, amazing being such an experienced player, the team will listen to him. It was amazing that started this Baron. Yeah. The rest of his team was still on the Rift Scuttler. He must have seen something on the map where they had vision around bot side. They knew that they were keeping Nisqy mid to fake, and Fnatic Academy take a slow, but it ends up being a safe Baron from it as well, which is difficult to say at 22 minutes into a game.
Kikis continuing to farm himself up. Nisqy's going to claim this blue. Vision control so much in favor of Fnatic as well, especially in that river area. If you look at the red side jungle for Misfits, they've scattered wards all across that area, and now Fnatic are coming down through them. Kosky's just going to Shumpo away. Misfits need to work out how they're going to mount a defense against this Baron buff. Yeah,
it's very difficult because the Katarina restricts so much of the wave clear here. Ashe will just have volley. Nautilus doesn't offer too much until the minions push under tower. He's actually in mid lane trying to defend against Kikis, which is going to be a losing battle. So it's down to Graves and Ashe to just wave clear this out. And if Cosq keeps getting chunked and having to return to base, there might be an opening that Fnatic Academy just look to engage.
I think the question now becomes, how hasty are Fnatic Academy? Are they willing to wait for another Baron to come up if they need to, or are they going to be trying too hard to force plays? Yes, they're ahead. 5,000 gold, almost 6,000 for them. They've got that Inferno, they've got the Ocean, and they're looking for the turrets. But if you step too far, Misfits will capitalize on that.
Yeah, they will. They'll get at least another 2 minion waves on this on the bot side, though. Fnatic Academy are going to need at least an ace or another Baron to end this game. There's no way that they can push in on this Baron buff without killing everybody on Misfits Academy. But this is another wave lighting up. You can see the cannon minion is still here, so it is wailing away on that tower. But Fnatic have 5 people stacked in this bottom lane. Misfits Academy concede, but they've done a good job of slowing Fnatic Academy at the same time. Like, they didn't just crumble, they at least have held Fnatic Academy's Baron buff. They may lose mid-tower from it, but there is no minion wave there for now, so it's all on Fnatic pushing it up and pushing Misfits Academy back before this Baron buff expires.
Still a quarter of the time on that buff left, though, so you think Fnatic have probably 2 or 3 waves to play with here to see if they can push in. Jisoo's caught off towards the side, eaten up by Dreams, and spat out behind the tower.
It's only going to be the wave that's joining now, because by the time the next one is spawned, the buff will have expired. So this wave that's stacking up, it's about a wave and a half, should be enough to take down the tower. Misfits Academy concede, but again, it's turtling tactics, right? This is still a benefit for Fnatic Academy. It's still going in their favor, but Misfits Academy are not giving over inhibitor towers. They're not giving over towers without at least slowing Fnatic Academy down.
How easy is that push onto inhibitors now for Fnatic, even with a Baron buff? You've got amazing, Kikis is playing this Akali, who is a great split pusher, but not great at taking down towers. You've got a LeBlanc and you've got a Varus for poke potential. How easy is it to actually break that base?
Difficult, because you're playing up against Tahm Kench, Ashe, Nautilus, and then a Katarina alongside. So suddenly, if you take one step too far forward, if you don't kill people before you try and do that, Misfits Academy will punish you under tower. You'll get hit by an Ashe arrow, the target you're looking for will get devoured by Dreams, and suddenly Misfits Academy will turn the fight back around and force Fnatic Academy to recall. So Fnatic are still in a great spot, but this is where the game becomes a lot more difficult with the composition that they're running, and without the Baron buff, Kikis theoretically can't push up to a tower and push through it. He requires Baron buff minions to try and do anything against Jisoo under tower. He can get lane control and push it all the way up to the tower, perfectly fine. Everything else is a lot different, a lot more difficult.
He definitely has lane control at the moment with almost a 50 CS lead. Here come 3 members of Fnatic, but Cosq and Dreams are around the corner. Knock up onto Nisqy. Jisoo going to be able to escape for the time being. Kai trying to land a Winter's Bite. Cosq's looking for the re-engage. No Mr. Rallas yet here. Both teams going to back off.
And this is Fnatic Academy trying to, first of all, get a pick, and then when they don't successfully get the kill, move back out now for the Drake. They also are looking for any summoners, any flashes they can get at this point, because we're getting to the stage where one one team fight, yeah, that is grammatically correct, will win the game for Fnatic Academy. But Misfits Academy, as we said, very, very potent on the turnaround here.
Look at Misfits' vision at the moment, though. There's hardly any wards even out on the map for them at the moment. None in that river, none in the jungle of Fnatic Academy. They've been denied such a vast area of this map by Fnatic.
There are a couple of key wards and things they have available. So Blue Trinket plus Hawkshot makes any Baron play quite difficult. Now they're trying to sweep out bottom side, but there isn't really too much that is going to be bottom focused for the next few minutes. With that Dragon gone, we're still waiting now for about that 33, 34 minute mark. So it's top side they need to establish some sense of control here. And you can see a couple of wards have gone down. Fnatic are going to sweep them out. But Misfits Academy, again, they just can't let that Baron go over for free.
Even if they could catch one or two members, it would be a boon for them. We've seen Yuki get that quadra kill, a penta kill, in fact, versus Origin at a bad Baron call from Origin. And earlier on, it looked like we were going to have flashbacks to that, but Misfits weren't quite able to catch Fnatic out.
And that's the thing, both teams may actually be afraid of team fighting more than they want to fight, because both sides have good cleanup. You've got a Katarina and a Hurricane Ashe. Both can take out multiple targets at the same time. Fnatic Academy, Akali, Varus with a Hurricane Blade of the Ruined King. Same thing as the Ashe. So if you take one bad team fight, it might not be such a clean-cut Katarina wins it. It might just be that Fnatic Academy end up losing a couple of people and Yuki cleans up. Now they want to try and fight.
Amazing can jump away or even look for the engage. He will dash across the wall, half health though.
Arrow is down and the Honey Fruit was up for Amazing to heal himself back up in to 3/4 health. It's enough for him for now, but Fnatic Academy trying to just utilize this Akali on the side lane. Misfits are going to try and make a play. Can they land the depth charge? Just needs to get in range. Niski's been pushed all the way away, and it's dragged Kikis across from the top lane. A very tentative game here between both Academy teams.
Still very slow between them as well. This is Fnatic waiting. They're just working out exactly what they can take if they can get those summoners, as you said. And Stress, I just want to come back to the Honey Fruit, because do you know why I like the name of the Honey Fruit so much? Honey is actually a natural antibiotic. So having it as something that heals you is a very pertinent name. So good job there. Great naming. Amazing, looking for a great engage. Does hit Yuki with the kick. Not going to follow up though. Educational and entertaining.
Fine, like, as long as we're not treading into the realms of homeopathy at this point.
No. It's a natural antibiotic. If you ever get injured, don't have any antibiotics nearby, smear some honey on.
Well then, the things you learn.
Kick back, he jumps in. Death Lotus comes down, eaten up by Dreams. Fnatic looking for the prey. Here's the redemption. Clive's in the front line. All of Misfits there. Kickers has joined. Rales gets CosQ down, and now Fnatic can just turn and burn. Mr. Rales doing so much work with the double. Kickers gets one as well. Only Pride Stalker and Yuki left alive. Yeah,
you can see Fnatic Academy just trying to chase Misfits Academy out. Now we'll push towards that inhibitor turret themselves. That'll open up the Baron buff. And you can see once CosQ fell, nobody from Fnatic Academy had fallen. So after Dreams getting the Devour, there was nothing more for CosQ to survive. And it's been a rough game for him. 1-5-1. He got first blood and then couldn't maintain his lead. Fnatic Academy did a good job of picking him off. And despite the turtling strategies of Misfits, it wasn't enough to close out this fight. Jisoo didn't quite land that pick on Amazing, and then CosQ gets kicked right into the team. Down to 300 health. Pridestalk is about to die in the live vision.
Does have the redemption, going to get chased out. Gets away for the time being, but Niski will catch him up, devoured by Dreams, and actually, with the TP coming in, perhaps Misfits can take this fight. There's the hook onto Rales. Yuki here. The Ashe can do a lot of work with the Runes.
Look how far CosQ is.
Keep on running away. Abyssal Voyage comes in. Dreams just going to try and chase onto Amazing. If they can take down the jungler, perhaps they have a chance. Clyde hooked up by Jisoo. Amazing's off towards the side. Kick is backing. No TP for him. And Fnatic still running for the hills. Niski will get knocked up as he hits the blast cone, but Misfits Academy burn a lot and can't get the fight they want.
Kikis, however, is going to drag them away from the Baron by trying to push into the base. There's a massive stack of minions in the bottom lane, and now if Amazing can at least distract Misfits Academy for a while, look, they've pulled him all the way around. Kikis is still in the base. The rest of Fnatic Academy are at least closing in to try and deny any fast recalls. Kikis, we've seen this so many times from him. He wants to base race this down in game one.
Amazing's going in as well. Amazing's going to try and jump back. Pride Stalker there, still seeing perhaps if he can get the enemy jungler down. The Death Lotus used as well. Kozcu gets the kill, but Kikis gets the turret. And actually stress, this is so serendipitous because the last time these two teams met, Misfits went for a Baron and they lost their base to Kikis on Jace.
Oh, and Misfits Academy this time hold their nerve. They back away from the Baron. They do end up losing out once again. Fnatic Academy trying to drag Misfits around the map. Start the Baron. Go towards mid lane. Go towards bot lane. Amazing. Takes so much time that he'll be back available before Misfits Academy have truly regrouped and are ready.
Look at the level disparity between Kikis and Jisoo now as well. Kikis is just going to continue to split. He doesn't have teleport. Misfits Academy have started the Baron.
You're now playing into a Varus, a LeBlanc in the Baron pit here. They're going to slow him down long enough for Kikis to do enough work here.
Yeah, Kikis is at least going to get an inhibitor knock up onto Niski. Kozcu's here as well.
It's happening.
Amazing, not there. It is happening once more. The Baron goes down. Now can Misfits get away? Can they get back to save the day? Because Kikis is getting the Nexus towers. One down. He got an inhibitor as well. He's not going to go for the Nexus because Prize Talker gets back, but the base of Misfits is broken.
2 inhibitors down now, but Misfits do get the Baron buff. If they die here, though, Fnatic Academy may just end up closing on the exposed Nexus.
Kikis is here. Jisoo not there in time to save his teammate, and now they have to back away. They do have Baron buff. Their minions so much more tanky, but can Misfits hold out in a 3v5?
The impossible choice for Misfits. Baron for their inhibitor and Nexus towers. Misfits were looking to regroup, but they picked the wrong one, and Fnatic 5 versus 2, 3 trying to get into the base.
Kozcu is still there. Exhaust already used. He's going to jump in, but the second exhaust comes down, and he is destroyed. The Nexus will fall. Fnatic go 1-0 up.